Hi, my name is Hannah. Welcome back to my channel, Savage Reads. I have read some great books the past week, and I'm excited to talk about them. I have been working on a buddy read, my first buddy read with Melinda at a Web of Stories. We are reading Giants in the Earth, and I'm enjoying it. I have a hard time because I like to read books all in one day, and I'm trying to pace myself throughout the whole month to really kind of enjoy it and be able to discuss things as we go along. So it's been a little bit different, but I'm having fun with that. And I have been doing a little bit of embroidery, not as much. I'm feeling like I need some more inspiration of something that I'm excited about. So I've been doing a lot of outdoor work and not as much stitchery, but it's getting somewhere, let me show you. So I'm just about done with the bookshelf. I have some actual little things I'm gonna stitch on. I've got a little mirror, I've got some little doodads to go as the bookends, and I just have to finish this plant and get the backing on it. So this is just about done, and I'm trying to figure out how the best way to do this as a giveaway would be. Have everybody who is interested fill out a form or something, and then I'll send this to someone. So that is just about done. And let's jump in to the books that I have read in the last week. So my amazing brother-in-law gave me the book, Everything is Tuberculosis by John Green. And I've been wanting to read this book, and it took me a little bit to get to it, but once I started, I couldn't stop. This book is talking about the history of tuberculosis. It is talking about how it is treated and what we could be doing to stop tuberculosis from killing so many people each year. This disease, there's no reason that anyone is dying from it. I thought this book was really interesting and had a great introduction to tuberculosis and how we should be going about fighting it. And so I really liked it. Highly recommend. I am a little bit partial because I do like John Green. I've really appreciated all the work that the Green brothers have done for Crash Course and all their education initiatives. And so I went in expecting to like it and did, and I'm so glad I have a hard copy. It was so nice of my brother-in-law to give this to me. Now, I read the book Ella Enchanted by Gail Carson Levine to my daughter. And I had read this as a kid quite a few times and really loved it. And so I was excited to read it again. I had to kind of push to read this book because my daughter doesn't really like princessy books. And I kept having to tell her, no, it's not just a princessy book. It's got a lot of action. It's really fun. A strong female character, all those kinds of things. And so I got her to read this book, and she enjoyed it. And my youngest, who is 5, also enjoyed it. So the 9-year-old and the 5-year-old both enjoyed this book, had a good time with it. But reading it as an adult is stress-inducing. If you have not read this book, this is basically Cinderella, but it explains why Cinderella did everything that her stepsisters asked her to. It's because she was cursed as a child to be obedient. And so anything anyone tells her to do, she has to do it. Reading as a kid, you think, oh, that would be horrible. She's fighting against it. What is she gonna do next? And reading it as an adult, I think you recognize the implications of this poor child who cannot say no to anything, and it feels a lot more stress-inducing and a lot heavier than as a kid. So my husband, if I was reading this book out loud, he would stand up and leave the room. He could not handle just how stress-inducing this was for him. And so I think as a kid, this is great. And as an adult, you understand just how horrible this could be. Sure, the book tries to illustrate that, oh, I could have died, someone could die, I could have killed someone, things of the sort, but ooh, it hits a little different as an adult. But overall, I think it's great. I would definitely recommend this as a middle grade read. I just don't think that as an adult, I want to revisit the book again, but I would definitely gift it to young girls in my life. Now, Caitlin at Bandy's Books recommended the book, The Heartbeat of Wounded Knee, Native America from 1890 to the Present by David Truer. And this book is a bit of a response to the book by Dee Brown, Bury My Heart at Wounded Knee. This book is saying that books like Bury My Heart at Wounded Knee show Native American history to be a tragedy, show everything as leading up to these cultures and these peoples being completely destroyed. And this book is a response to that idea and is showing the Native triumphs and the advocacy and the fights back, the way that Native peoples have preserved their culture and spread their culture and created new groups, new communities, and the strength that they have had. And so this book was very anti-Bury My Heart at Wounded Knee by Dee Brown. And I really loved that book. I thought that was a really good history showing some of the actual events that happened. But I could see exactly what the author was saying, that can feel like a very depressing look at Native history if that is all you are going off of. And so this book is giving us advocacy groups, it's giving us different Native programs, the way that the government has pushed against Indigenous peoples and how they have pushed back. And I thought that it was really good, really well done. I highly recommend it. So the only reason I wouldn't give this a full 5 stars is that I listened to this book, and at the end I thought, wow, perfect, 5 stars, everyone should read this. This is so interesting. And then I realized, as I reflected more on the book, there was a whole middle section that talked about things like collecting leeches and living off the land, that my mind really wandered during that part as I listened to it. And so I do think this book could have been a little more concise. I think that it is a long book and could have cut out 100 pages or so to make the points a little more succinct, a little easier to consume, because I do think it kind of got bogged down in a few details towards the middle and could have been a little cleaner that way. But overall, I highly recommend this book. I do recommend this book in a physical copy. I didn't love the audio narration. Now, I am not saying that women cannot narrate books written by men. This book was told with a lot of first-person narration from the author, David, and having a woman narrate it honestly was slightly confusing in my head. It's fine, it's something I can get over, and it wouldn't have been a deal breaker for me, but I also noticed a few mispronunciations by the audiobook reader that just threw me off a little bit. And so I'm not saying that you can't listen to this. I just think there are some words that are going to be mispronounced, and it is a woman reading it when it is a man who wrote the book. I do think that tricked my brain a little bit, and so some of the context of some of the stories is different if you assume that a woman is telling it versus a man. So I do think that is maybe a little strange. I think the most egregious mispronunciation that I found was at one point, instead of saying martial law, the narrator said marital law, and that was a little confusing. There were just a few things that threw me off in the narration. But overall, I do recommend this book. I just don't know if the audio was the best representation of this. And this last book was a recommendation from the channel The Pumpkin Files, so I will make sure to link that down below. And I read Annihilation by Jeff Vandermeer. So this book is following a biologist as she goes with a group into the mysterious Area X. Area X has been cut off from the rest of humanity for many years, and every time an expedition is sent in there, something horrible happens. Everyone dies, everyone goes crazy, something bad happens. And they go into this area to understand what is going on. Mysterious things begin happening, and you are learning all of this through the journal entries of the biologist. This was really an interesting premise. I think the way that it was written, with the biologist writing these journal entries, was really interesting. You get that unreliable narrator that really worked in this kind of story. You don't know if everything she's telling you is completely accurate, and sometimes she comes out and says, I wasn't telling you this until now, and now I'm going to tell you. And so you have to kind of piece things together throughout the narrative. I thought that was all really done well. I haven't read a ton of science fiction lately, but this did make me think of I Who Have Never Known Men that I read a few months ago, in that it had an interesting sci-fi premise, a bit of a meandering narrative, and then I was frustrated by the ending. But on this one, I ended the book thinking, it just left me with more questions than answers. I need more, and I realized this is a series. So while I enjoyed this book, I don't know if I enjoyed it enough that I want to read the next one, but it does make me feel better to know that there is a series because I was a little upset with how things ended up. It was a very slow-paced narrative and then just kind of wrapped up real close at the end. And so I don't know if I loved everything about it, but overall it was pretty interesting. I think that if you like kind of that speculative science fiction, this is a really great option. I just don't know if I read enough to really understand the genre. And that is what I have read the last week. If you have any thoughts on these books, let me know in the comments down below. If you have any good book recommendations for me, as always, I need more book recommendations. And I will see you all on the next one.